Do you ever give up on a screenplay?
I don't think I've ever given up on a screenplay, which is crazy. It's so funny to have you ask me that question because I can't believe I have never given up on a screenplay. That is nuts. Like I should have. I should have given up on lots of screenplays, but I think if I started it, it's because there was something about it that excited me, and I just always want, like the exciting thing about a screenplay to some degree to me is the puzzle. How do you make the puzzle work? And I just don't get bored with, I also just, I get determined to make the puzzle work. I will just go and go and go. I'll walk up and down this street just puzzling it out, puzzling it out, puzzling it out until I have it. And you know, sometimes the solution is imperfect, and I recognize it's imperfect, but it solves the problem enough to keep going. I think that writing anything is an act of faith for me. It's like, to start, you have to believe that you can finish, you know? And I guess if I didn't believe I could finish, I would never start in the first place. And before I ever start, I know how it ends. I know where it's gonna end and what's gonna happen in that final scene. Even if I don't know what that final scene is exactly, where it's gonna take place or what is gonna happen, but I know the outcome. I know where my character is gonna be at the end of the story, and that's why I wanna tell this story, because I'm intrigued with where that person started and where they end. And like, so then if I know those two things, how I get from A to B, there's gotta be a way. There's gotta be a way. And so, I've never given up on a screenplay. I've finished everything I've started.
How many revisions do you do?
So, and I think I talk about it a little bit, like painting to some degree, or I think about it in terms of painting to some degree, and I think, I'm gonna fill the canvas. I gotta fill the canvas first. And that's basically, you know, finishing the story. And so getting a draft, and then I can start, you know, painting in the contours and the colors and the shapes and the variation. And over the course of that, you may repaint the entire landscape, but you couldn't have gotten to that fourth layer if that first layer wasn't there, even though you can no longer see the first layer. So I do endless. I think it's Chris McQuarrie said, no screenplay's ever finished, it's abandoned. And you just never really finish it. I mean, there is a degree to which, as having made so many things, I recognize that the screenplay really is a blueprint for the film, which can be a little bit discouraging as a screenwriter, because what's the point of perfecting it? Because it's just gonna get redone when they shoot it, because it's inevitable, it's impossible, not because whatever you've created in your head, they're not gonna find that in the real world. The actor is gonna be different than what's in your head. The locations are gonna be different than what's in your head. And just the exigencies of production will force the project to change. But that doesn't change the fact that, you know, you still have to ultimately have something that people wanna make, you know? And I feel like this key to finishing is to not let perfection be the enemy of good enough. You know, when a solution to a story problem presents itself, and maybe it's a little hackneyed and maybe it's not ideal, but write it and then revise it, you know? I mean, I always try to be the development executive I wanted to be, that I was sometimes for other writers. You know, I try to be that development person for myself. You know, ask myself the questions that will force the writer in me to write a better screenplay.
What are some of those questions?
You know, I mean, primarily, what does the protagonist want? You know, what does he want in this scene? What is he trying to get? And what is the way that's true to his character for him to try to get it is generally the question that is most effective.
You had said something in one of your podcasts that really stuck with me, and that is what the universe has planned for you sometimes is so much greater than what you've planned for yourself.
Always.
And I'm wondering, I'm taking this sort of esoteric statement and putting it on a screenplay. Is it similar? What you have planned for the screenplay ends up becoming so much more. No. Maybe not. Okay.
I don't think so. I wish. I
Okay.
really wish. I wish that, like, you know, the power of the universe shined its light on my screenwriting in a way. But for me, screenwriting always feels like it feels like a miracle. Like when I get to the end, yes, there are things that happen along the way that I never considered or imagined that end up being great solutions to the things that I've struggled with. So yes, that does happen. But, you know, I think of like that movie Capturing the Friedmans. Did you ever see that film?
I think so. No.
You know, it's a documentary about, you know, a sort of a scandal in Long Island. And it starts out as I can't remember who made it. I think it's the Movie Phone guy. The guy who made The Jinx. I can't believe I can't remember his name. But anyway, he starts out, he's making a movie about clowns in New York City, guys who go to private school parties, essentially, and entertain rich kids in New York City, and who are the best at this. And the top clown, it turns out, is this guy, I don't remember his first name, but his last name is Friedman. And as he's interviewing him, the clown reveals that actually he was part of this horrible scandal in Long Island in the 80s or something. And it just shifts the whole trajectory of the documentary. And I think documentary works a lot that way, where the documentarian starts out in search of answering one question and ultimately answers something completely different. That's better. That hasn't happened to me as a screenwriter, where I set out to write one thing and ended up writing something different. It's happened in my life a lot, where I have tried to do things and the universe has pushed me into something that I wasn't expecting, and it's turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. And I never would have tried to do that. I mean, stand-up comedy was a perfect example, where I had finished making Fat Kid Rules the World, the film that Matthew Lillard directed that starred Jacob Wysocki, and it was great working with Lillard's he's not a comedian necessarily, but he's a very comedic actor, and he's a delightful human, and Jacob is a comedic actor and delightful human. It was really just fun to collaborate with them making this film. And when I came back to Los Angeles, they were both improvisers, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna do some improvisation. You know, I'm gonna take an improv class, because also there were a lot of people talking about how improv is so helpful for screenwriting and that it helps make funnier screenplays, being an improviser. And so I was trying to join an improv class, and I just couldn't find one that was near my office, because I didn't feel like I could sneak out of my office to go to an improv class. Like, just felt inappropriate for my job. And I ended up taking a stand-up class instead, because it was nearby my office and it met at a time that was convenient. And it opened up a whole world that I wasn't even on my radar, the idea of doing stand-up comedy, and it changed my life, really. So I have a lot of faith in, like, the universe to come through for me in ways that are better than what I've intended for myself.
Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. Here is a complimentary question from our book Story Questions.